My priority was not watching TV. My priority was not knowing who was playing in the championship or the playoff. My priority was not knowing what celebrity divorced what celebrity. My priority, right? None of that was a priority for me, guys. I couldn't, and people almost try to make me feel bad. Like, you don't know about this? Nope. You don't know who's playing on Sunday? Nope. And I was comfortable with it. You know why? Because I was clear on what I wanted. And that wasn't one of them. In my goals, what would be clear it didn't say make sure you know who's in the playoff. It didn't say make sure you know what celebrities are doing what. No, that wasn't in the goal. So remember I said when you're clear on what you want, you're also clear on what you don't want. See? No one had to say, hey man, you know you're missing this. I already knew. I know I'm missing it. And I'm good with it.
If you're a go-getter, faith-driven and family-focused and need to break through to your next level, this is the podcast for you. Your self-talk can reshape every area of your life. It's time to dream and think big. Welcome to the Self-Talk Experience with Darnell and Tracy Self. It's time to elevate, baby. Let's get into the show.
Hey, what's up, Self-Talk Experience family? Darnell Self here with another episode of the Self-Talk Experience. Remember, the things we say to ourselves about ourselves eventually will determine what we attract and even who we attract for ourselves. Hey, I'm here solo today. T-Self is not in town. Like, I'm so used to being the one who travels, but this time she's traveling. So I'm like, what am I supposed to do? It was worse when we had kids, you all, because the kids were like, mommy didn't do that. Mommy made our lunch differently. I'm like, well, mommy's not here. But it is exciting to be here before the Self-Talk Experience family. Look, we're in the new year. It's 2024. And if you're watching this when it's released, it's every Thursday we have an opportunity to release an episode of the Self-Talk Experience, which helps us to reshape the things we're saying to ourselves because we are having all of this internal dialogue. And I've found that when I can make a habit out of saying things that I would like to come to fruition, the person that I'd like to become, and I speak that as if it already is, my subconscious tricks my conscious to believing that it is. And my gosh, you talk differently when you already know that that next version of you is on its way. If it feels elusive, if it feels like I'm just never going to get there, then you start to feel doubt in your music, like your energy, your posture is equivalent to the belief level you have about your future. And I know you run into people who say things like, man, I'm telling you, this is going to be my year. And you don't even believe it because you know they don't believe it. And then you run into people who say, look, all I know is this year is harvest season, baby. Like all the seeds I've been sowing and all the things I've been through have shaped me for this time. And you believe it because you can tell they believe it. So what I want to talk about today is a very important topic. It's something that has helped me and continues to help me today at each level that I strive to reach. So it doesn't matter where you are, already making millions, or maybe your goal is to make millions. Maybe your goal is not even to make millions, but to become a better version of yourself. I think this episode is going to help you out because it certainly has. It's helped me out. You know, I don't want to sound insensitive when I say this, but I had to realize at some point that no one was really coming to save me. Like, if I wanted to succeed, it would be up to me. Like at some point, people could guide me, people could coach me, people could motivate me, and even hold me accountable. But ultimately, I had to make the decision to leave where I was to go to where I wanted to be. And if that's you, if you're like, hey, look, I'm good where I am, but I'd like to be at a better place. I'd like to achieve more, be more, give more, then this episode's for you. When I was 28 years old, I asked my mom for some help, financial help. I had made some decisions that put us in a real tough place, Tracy and I, and our two kids at the time. And so my mom says, "Hey, babe, I'm going to give you this money. I don't have much. I'm not rich, but my mom's always done well with the money that she made." And so she's like, I'm willing to give you this. And it made me feel some kind of way. I mean, I accepted it, so it didn't really make me feel some kind of way. It kind of did. But, I always say it made me feel bad, but not bad enough where I didn't take it. I was like, "Thank you, Mom." And, but in that moment, I realized, man, I can't go back to my mom again. I just, asked her for a pretty large sum of money. And I'm like, man, she gave me all of this money and now it's going to be up to me. Like, I refuse to go back again. So at that moment, I felt like, man, I'd used my lifeline. Like, this is on me. And it made me operate differently. It made me move differently when I felt like I had nowhere else to go. By the way, I should probably tell you this. I borrowed money from some close friends of mine. I borrowed money from my in-laws. I borrowed money from a mentor of mine. And I'm not asking that you go borrow money from folks. All I'm saying is that's the situation I was in. And that's why I don't judge people when people are in a tough situation, perhaps even a desperate situation, because I know exactly what that feels like. And, there's some folks who have to say no because they have other stuff going on. And I get that, right? Because I have to say no to folks. But I'm thankful for the folks who said yes at the time. And I'm thankful for the discipline of paying them back. So I'm saying this, not because this is an episode on borrowing money, but it's an episode at some point you got to lead you. Like, you're in a hole and you got to stop digging at some point. At some point, you're going to have to lead you. You can't wait for someone else to throw you a life preserver. You're not going to be able to, hope and wish that things are just going to change. It's going to take for you to lead you from that place. So am I saying don't get mentorship? Absolutely not. Am I saying don't have support? You'll hear this in a second. Absolutely not. What I'm saying is that you got to lead. You got to take the first step. You got to reach up. You got to reach out. You got to move. So no, it's not good English when you say you got to, but that's how I feel right now. So I wrote down some notes because I wrote down 7 things that helped me to lead myself. And by the way, I build teams. And it's hard to get people to follow someone who's uncertain about where they're going. You're like, come on, let's go. But if you're unsure, look, one thing I won't do, and that's follow someone who's uncertain about where they're headed, because where are you going to lead me? To an uncertain place. You see? So I want someone who knows where they're going. I'll follow that person. Like, tell me where we're going. Oh, I want to go there too. Let's go together. So, but you got to be willing to lead you first in order for people to want to follow you to a place that you're certain about. So I wrote down 7 things that are going to help you, and we'll be done. You guys ready? You might have to listen to this over because I feel like I'm going to talk fast on this one. So either listen faster or go listen to it again because I'm excited about this one because this one was life-changing for me. At 28 years old, I learned some of these concepts, these philosophies, and by 31 years old, everything. At 29, it already started to change. That was our first year making 6 figures. Everything started to change from that point, and it just continued to grow and grow and grow, all because of what I'm going to share with you right now. Number one, we're talking about leading yourself, getting yourself from where you are to a place that you like to go, and no one's coming to get you. Let's just say that you're going to have to make the decision right now to lead yourself. Number one, set clear goals, not just set goals, but clear goals. What does that mean? That means I'm so sure about what I want. It also makes it clear what I don't want. When you know what you want, what you don't want becomes clear as well. So if I know I'm looking for this particular thing, no one can sell me on anything else. Well, we have a blue one over here. Nope, I want black. Well, no, but it does. No, I know exactly what I want. So when you know what it looks like, the relationships that you want to build, the people that you want around you. And if you're clear with what that looks like, you also are clear when the wrong people show up. You also are clear when the wrong things show up because you already know that's not what I asked for. I was very clear. Right. So what happens is that we accept the wrong thing. So now when the right thing comes because it was delayed and it comes later, you're already distracted with the wrong thing. So now we're repelling the right thing. And we knew what we wanted because we said it clear. It was clear. So I was very clear what I wanted. Very clear. No one could talk me out of it. Anybody around me during that time? So all my friends listening to this right now, you remember, D-Self knew exactly at 28, I made the decision. This is what I want, wrote it out, and I'm clear about it. And anything that I felt like was not going to move me closer towards that goal, I I didn't participate. Now is not the time. Can't watch the show right now. Can't go to the movies right now. Can't do that thing right now, right? Whatever it is right now doesn't line up, doesn't help to propel me to where I want to go. All right. So clear goals. Got that? So this could be with your health. It could be with finance. It could be with relationships, but you got to be real clear. Be specific so you know exactly what that looks like. Number 2, prioritize. Why is this important? Because, if we're not careful, we'll put things that don't really move us in front of those things that really move us, because some of the things that are easiest to do, we're like, well, I'm just going to do that. But maybe that's not the priority based on what we want. For an example, if I feel like I'm always fatigued, I don't feel energized enough to go after my goals like I want. Like I'm tired, so I'm not making the phone calls that I want. I'm not networking, going to the events that I want because I don't even feel like getting in the car and driving an hour away from home. Whatever it is, you just don't feel physically prepared to go run after this, whatever that goal is. Then a priority would be, how do I get myself physically fit so that I feel like, man, I can go do this. If I got to stay up a little bit later, if I got to wake up a little bit earlier, if I have to drive in an hour further just to meet with these folks, then I'm willing to do that, right? So we all have that opportunity to prioritize. We just sometimes haven't done it. Maybe because no one taught us. So we're teaching you right now, prioritize. So I'm like, hey, look, these are the things in this moment that are going to be most important for me. We're talking about leading yourself, right? Because you may not have anyone else in your life who says this is a priority, but you know what the priority is. And at that point in my life at 28, it was a priority for me to make some money. It was a priority for me to make some money. So other things, not that they long-term were more important, but in that season for me to get out of this hole, I had to do what I had to do. If that meant taking on, double timing, taking on more than one career or opportunity to get me ahead, meaning I'm going to be a little bit tired, but that's okay. I prioritize that, right? I gotta make this money. And because I was refusing to borrow money again, I was refusing to be late again. I was refusing to tell my wife or kids, like, look, I don't know. I don't know how we're going to pay it. So you have to prioritize based on what you are clear about. Remember I said you're going to get real clear about those goals and now prioritize based on those things. My priority was not watching TV. My priority was not knowing who was playing in the championship or the playoff. My priority was not knowing what celebrity divorced what celebrity. Right? None of that was a priority for me, guys. I couldn't. And people almost try to make me feel bad. Like, you don't know about this? Nope. You don't know who's playing on Sunday? Nope. And I was comfortable with it. You know why? Because I was clear on what I wanted. And that wasn't one of them. In my goals, what would be clear it didn't say make sure you know who's in the playoff. It didn't say make sure you know what celebrities are doing what. No, that wasn't in the goal. So remember I said when you're clear on what you want, you're also clear on what you don't want. See? No one had to say, hey man, you're missing this. I already knew. I know I'm missing it. And I'm good with it. I'm studying. All right. Number 3, develop self-discipline. This is huge because you're going to have to cultivate the ability to limit distractions, right? I almost went there already in advance. And but the good thing about this is once you cultivate this, once you start a daily routine, it turns into a habit and then you don't think about it. This is what you do when you wake up. But it takes a second to get there, guys. It doesn't happen overnight. But once you get there, it's brushing your teeth. You know, who watching this, listening to this, thinks about brushing their teeth? Hopefully you don't. You're like, oh man, gotta brush my teeth next. Like, I hope. Please don't tell me like, I gotta take another shower. I mean, I took one earlier this week. No, that should be a daily routine. This is what you do. And that's what happens when you're leading yourself. This is what I do. And people are like, man, you do all that. No, it's just what I do. It's not overwhelming. It's not daunting. It doesn't feel like, man, it's so much. No, it's just what I do. Once you do it, guys, once you get it, you're like, oh, on the way to work, I listen to this. This is when I get my personal development. Drive Time University. It's just what I do. If you got a job and you know it's 20 minutes away, that's your 20 minutes. During my lunch break, this is when I do this. So set some daily routines. It will help you to lead yourself. All right. Otherwise, it feels like I don't have time. Oh, you have time. You just never did number 3. You didn't develop the self-discipline to set up daily routines. didn't cultivate that. Okay, good. Number 4, continuous learning. I'm talking about leading yourself, guys. Continuous learning. This is what you're doing right now, by the way. You're committing to growth and newness because there are some things we're unaware of. And when we commit to growth, we start, man, I didn't think about it like that. And now you're leading yourself more effectively. If you already knew how to lead yourself effectively, you probably already be at a place that you're desiring to be. So be okay with not knowing. So growing means that now you're knowing things, you're learning things you didn't know. Okay. So that's an easy one. But things that are easy to do are also easy not to do. So be careful thinking it's so easy. Oh, I know I can get this done. Still write it down. I'll still take the note so that you can remind yourself you have to have some continuous learning, this seeking out opportunities to acquire a knowledge that you didn't have before. All right. Number 5, embrace failure and learn from it. These are all things that help me out, guys. Help me out in my 20s, help me out in my 30s. And man, I started mastering it by the time I was in my 40s. And some folks get it a lot faster than that, right? I'm making it seem like it has to take that long. Depends on how far you're coming from. It depends on how many habits you have to replace. Depends on how big your goals are. Depends on how many relationships you have and how supportive they are. So there's some variables there. But I want to make sure that when you fail, not if, when you fail, that you realize that you're not a failure. A lot of folks stop leading. They start leading themselves like the new year. And they're like, man, this is my year. And the first 2 weeks doesn't go like they anticipate. And then they're like, man, never mind, I'm a failure. No, you're not a failure. You just failed. You just failed to continue to do the things you said you were going to do. You failed to show up like you said you were going to show up. So you had failed at it, but it doesn't make you a failure. Let's go. Let's wipe yourself off, brush your pants off, get back up. Let's go. So be careful. This self-talk is critical in this phase because if you start feeling like it's never going to happen because it hasn't happened, then you won't do anything thinking that it's fruitless. For why? I mean, for what? Doesn't matter. I'm wasting my time. But you're not. I don't know anyone who succeeded without failure. Show me someone who's never failed and I show you a failure. Bottom line. So all I'm saying is not to draw failure to you, but when it happens, know that it's okay. Know that it's okay. Okay. So I don't want you to think about the failure, but when it happens, because it will, I want you to have the right self-talk. And tell yourself, all good. I'm learning. What did I learn from it? So it's not cyclical. So I don't end up doing the same thing over and over again. All right. So embrace failure and learn from it. We're talking about leading yourself. I'm almost done here. I think I'm at number 6. Practice self-reflection. Oh, this is so good for me. Even today, like it's always good to self-reflect, to think about your actions, think about progression, to think about what perhaps is slowing you down. Like, man, I thought this was going to happen faster than it's happening. Let's say you set a goal and we're already a couple of weeks in the new year and you're not quite at the point, the benchmark that you had set. You're like, man, by halfway through January, I'm going to be here. And you're not. This is what self-reflection is about. If we're not careful when we're leading ourselves, because there's no one else leading us at this point. Like we're leading ourselves. We may have coaches, which I'll get to in a second. But think about this. If we're not careful, we're just like, well, I'm just going to keep doing more of what I'm doing. Doing what you've been doing has got you where you are, which is behind. You know what I mean? You didn't reach it. So now you have to reflect and say, man, should I be doing more? Or should I adjust the way I'm doing what I'm doing? Maybe what you're doing, for an example, part of what I do for a living is I inspire people to become the best versions of themselves, because a lot of folks have doubted the person that they are. There's some insecurity there. So they can't become a better version, but don't even quite honestly like the version that they are. This version is a stepping stone to the next version. Well, if we're already discounting this version, then we don't believe we can become the next version. We maybe believe that we are a past version, right? So how do you step into this next version of you, this better version of you, we don't like the current version of you? So I'm gonna share that with you right now. So what happens is that we take a look at what we've done, perhaps the way we've done it, and we say, do I need to make an adjustment? Happens in business, happens in relationships. Like, hey, the relationship, the friendship, the business partnership, my finances, my business goals. I'm not where I thought I'd be. I thought we'd be further along. This isn't working the way I anticipated. So now it's time for reflection. And we reflect. It's not a bad thing, right? It is a good thing. So don't look at it as a bad thing. Look at it as an opportunity to make better moves, to make the adjustment. I'm making adjustments all the time. It's like the rocket ship on the way to the moon. People think, because from the outside looking in, that it seems straight, but it's not. It's all over the place. But I'm always making adjustments. So I'm all over here, then I get right back on track. All over here, then I get right back on track. But I'm so quick to get back on track, it makes it look like from the outside looking in that I'm never off track. But I am. I just get myself right back in. Okay. So there's times where I miss a whole bunch, guys. I miss what I said I was going to do that day, but I'm back on the next day. There's times where I didn't go. I'm supposed to go to the gym. I'm supposed to go, whatever it is. And that's okay. I just make the adjustment. Hey, not happy with this. So now let me get this done. All right, last one, which quite honestly, I've been hinting towards this the entire time. I just never really said it. So last one is seek the support and coaching and perhaps even feedback from others. Now, be careful, because one of my first mentors said, if you buy people's opinions, you must also be willing to buy their lifestyle. And if you're seeking this feedback and support, make sure it's from someone who at least has bought into the vision, bought into your clear goals, who believes that it's possible for you. If not, they will say things like, it doesn't take all of that anyway. You know what I mean? No one really needs to have who needs 2 homes? Who needs to travel there? Who needs a car that's that expensive? Who needs, the public schools are nice. Why do your kids got to go to private schools? And it may not be anything wrong with public school, but if you want your kids to go to a private school, they should be supportive of that. If you want that particular automobile, they should be supportive of that. If you like to travel to Africa, they should be supportive of that. You know what I mean? So no, nothing's wrong. I always tell people, folks like, what's wrong with being a plumber? Nothing's wrong with being, because a lot of people are like, you got to be an entrepreneur, and people are like, what's wrong with being a plumber? Nothing's wrong with being a plumber unless you don't want to be a plumber. Then there's something wrong with it. People are like, well, my grandfather's a plumber, my dad's a plumber, and I'm a plumber. Nothing's wrong with being a plumber. Absolutely not. Unless you don't want to be one. If you're only a plumber because your dad was one, because your granddad was one, but you have no passion for it, you're frustrated every single day because you got to get up in operating a career that you're doing just because you think someone else's expectation over you is to do that, then that's what makes it wrong. But if you love teaching, I love teaching for you. If you love entrepreneurship, I love entrepreneurship for you. So in this one, guys, make sure you find someone who's supportive of what you want, not what they want for you, but what you want. And it's helpful. Look, and since T-Self is not here, and it's helpful if you let them know what words they can use that would be most supportive for you as you lead yourself. All right, guys. It's been another episode of the Self-Talk Experience. Remember, the things we say to ourselves about ourselves, even when we're leading ourselves, will certainly attract what you want for yourself. Look forward to seeing you at the best version of yourself in 2024.
Thank you for listening to the Self-Talk Podcast with Darnell and Tracy Self. We hope you enjoyed. Be sure to rate and review this podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform. And we'll see you next time. And remember, talk good to yourself.